Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's session, EBSCO 101, your research companion. My name is Rachel Lowe, and I'm an EBSCO training specialist. Please note that today's session is being recorded. You may have noticed that your microphone has been automatically muted. If you have any questions as we're going along, please hit the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen or go ahead and type your message into the chat box. There will be time for questions at the end, but feel free to also put questions in the chat box as we're going along. A bit later on today, you will be receiving an email from me with a link to the recording of today's session and a copy of the PowerPoint slides. As I mentioned, my name is Rachel Lowe, and I'm an EBSCO training specialist. My background is in midwifery, education, and library and information studies. I'm a certified librarian and I continue to practice clinically as a registered midwife. As I'm sure you are all aware, today's session is part of a competition. To enter the competition, you need to watch the live session or the recording until the end, attend at least one competition session in November, and there are 4 sessions being held, and there are 2 types of sessions. So you only have to attend one of those. Today's session will be repeated in a couple of weeks, and there is another session next week that will be that will be repeated at the end of November. But to qualify for the competition, you only need to attend one session. You also need to complete and submit the quiz within 1 week, and I will be talking about that a little bit more a bit further into the session. I've put together a few objectives for today's session. It is my hope that by the end of the session, you will be able to describe the services that EBSCO Information Services provides, explain aggregators and databases, describe search tips such as Boolean searching, wildcards, and proximity searching, utilize filters when performing a search, save and organize your research, and access help and support resources. Now, I do invite you to follow along with today's session. And as you can see, there is a URL and a QR code on the screen in front of you. So if you would like to follow along and sign into the database, I'll just pop that URL into the chat box as well. So you can either go into the chat box and click on that URL, or you can scan the QR code on the screen in front of you. And I will also put the password in the chat box. Okay, and I'll just wait another few moments just in case anyone's scrambling for their phone to scan that QR code. So I've put the link in the chat box along with the password. All right. So what is EBSCO Information Services? If you're wondering where the name EBSCO comes from, it's actually an acronym. The man who started the company many years ago, his name was Elton B. Stevens. So the name EBSCO comes from EBSCO for company. So EBSCO Information Services is a global information services company. It provides public libraries, schools, universities, hospitals, and other organizations with access to research databases, e-journals, e-books, and many other resources and technology solutions. It is a major provider of academic and clinical information resources. EBSCO assists users in finding scholarly publications, peer-reviewed articles, and other authoritative data. Many of EBSCO's resources are accessed through the EBSCO host interface, which enables users to search multiple databases and find relevant materials using advanced search options, so using filters and things like that. EBSCO is a major aggregator of content for libraries and other organizations, collecting resources like full text journals, magazines, and databases from various publishers into searchable subscription based products. So, if you're not familiar with what an aggregator brings together, I'll just give you some examples that will help to make it clear. So, for example, Google News is an aggregator. So instead of going into many different news outlets' websites to read the news, you can go to something like Google News that brings that all together for you. Shopping sites like Amazon and eBay are also aggregators. So they bring together a vast range of products from different sellers to offer the goods to a wider audience. So instead of finding individual sellers on your own, you can go to Amazon, you can go to eBay, and so on. So EBSCO does this with information. And just to give you an example of why a database is such a great idea, um, Academic Search Ultimate is one of our popular databases, and it has subscriptions to many, many journals. Now, if you were to subscribe individually to each one of those publications, it would cost you over $3.5 million. So, databases are a really great way of buying a subscription to lots of different publications at once. So I'm just curious of the people we have here today, how experienced are you with using EBSCO? And if you would just like to type that into the chat box, I know from our registrations we have very experienced users and some less experienced users. But if you would just like to open up the chat box and just answer the question, how experienced are you with using EBSCO? I'll just give a couple of minutes. Okay, great. So we've had some good answers there. Some people have messaged me directly, and others have put it where for everyone to see, which is great. All right, wonderful. Okay, so we have a wide range of experience levels there. And the great thing about EBSCO's resources is you can use it, it works very well for less experienced users, but you also, with EBSCO's databases and platforms, you have the ability to do really advanced searching for things like systematic reviews and that type of thing. All right, so I'm going to touch on some search strategies that we will be using today and that you may find useful. You will be receiving a copy of these slides. So if you find something that really piques your interest, you will get a copy of the slides so you can go back and review it. So the first thing I'm going to mention is the Boolean search mode. You may have heard the term Boolean before. It actually comes from the name of the British mathematician whose work it's based on. His name was George Boole, and he lived in the 1800s in England and then later Ireland. You may have heard of Boolean logic, and much of today's modern computer coding is based on Boolean logic. And again, that's based on the work of this mathematician. But Boolean searching is a very simple and logical way of searching, but it's really very powerful. So with Boolean searching, you simply enter two or more search terms separated by one of the Boolean operators, and the Boolean operators are the words and, or, and not. So the Boolean operator and is used between terms to narrow your search. For example, if I ask the database to give me articles about endangered and birds, I will only retrieve articles that are about both those things. So I'm not going to get articles about birds that have nothing to do with endangered, and I'm not going to get articles about endangered that have nothing to do with birds. I'm only going to get articles that are about both endangered and birds. That's illustrated for you in the infographic at the bottom of your screen in that reddish orange color. So it's like the overlap in a Venn diagram. This can be a little bit confusing to people who are new to New to Boolean searching because, of course, in our everyday language, when we use the word and, it's an expander. We're talking about more things. But when it comes to Boolean searching, when we use and, it narrows our search. The Boolean operator or is used between terms to broaden your search. So if I ask the database to give me articles about endangered or birds, I'm going to retrieve every single article in the database about endangered, as well as every single article about birds. And that's illustrated for you in the infographic at the bottom of your screen in the yellow. Again, if you're new to Boolean searching, this can be a little bit confusing at the beginning because in our everyday language, when we use the word or, we're narrowing things down. We talk about one or the other, either or, but in Boolean searching, or broadens your search. The Boolean operator not is used to omit a term from your search. So if I ask the database to give me articles about endangered not birds, I will retrieve references containing the term endangered, but anything to do with birds will be omitted. And that's illustrated for you in the infographic at the bottom of your screen in the green. Now, I'm also going to mention search tips like truncation and wildcards, and this refers to using characters on your keyboard like an asterisk, a question mark, a hash, or quotation marks. So the asterisk is the truncation or word stemming device, and it takes the place of a string of characters or letters and can also take the place of a word. For example, if I wanted to do a search for computer or computers or computing or computation, I could enter all of those search terms, or I could enter the common stem or root of those words, in this case, COMPUT, followed by an asterisk. From the system's point of view, it is looking for any words that are made up of the letters COMPUT, followed by other letters. And as you can see from the second example, you can also use an asterisk to replace an entire word. The single character wildcard is the question mark. If I were to enter NE question mark T, the system is going to look for any words that are made up of the letters N, E, any other letter, and T. So it will retrieve words like neat, nest, next, and so on. There's also the hash, which is used as an alternate spelling wildcard. For words like color in Australia, we spell COLOUR. In some parts of the world, that spelling has been simplified with that U removed. Replace it with a hash and you'll retrieve both spellings. And finally, using quotation marks for phrase searching. And I think this is one most people are familiar with just because of all the Google searching that we do. When you put quotation marks around a phrase, the system treats it as a single unit. So in the example here, if I put quotation marks around pressure ulcer, I will retrieve references that contain those terms next to each other in this exact order. Finally, I'm going to mention proximity searching, and this one is probably less well known than wildcard searching or Boolean searching, but it can be really useful. With proximity searching, you're asking the system to find any time two words are within a certain number of words of each other. And so this is similar in structure to Boolean searching. You're entering your two search terms separated by a proximity operator. So if I use the letter N, which stands for near, and a number, which stands for how many words the two words must be within. It's going to find, so for example, with N5, it's going to look for any time those two search terms are within 5 words of each other in any order. For example, if I were to enter healthcare N5 leadership, the system is going to find results where it would match results like healthcare leadership or leadership in healthcare. So anytime the words healthcare and leadership are within 5 words of each other in any order. If you use the W, it stands for within, and it works similarly, except that the words must be in the order that you entered them. So healthcare W5 leadership would match healthcare leadership, it would not match leadership in healthcare. All right, one thing to think about when you're searching a database is creating a research question. Think about what the information is that you're looking for. Ideally, a research question should be focused, it should be researchable, it should be feasible, it should be specific, it should be complex, and it should be relevant. So I have a sample question here. How does social media affect the anxiety and depression levels of young people? And I need to think also about what words are my keywords. What words am I going to type in when I do my search? And here I've put in boldface the search terms that I think would work well. Now, this is by no means um, a perfect research question. As you can see from the list of characteristics a perfect research question should have, things like being focused and specific. Young people is probably a little bit vague. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in to a live demo. And I'm just going to put that password in the box again, in the chat box. Okay, so if you are following along, you can scan that QR code or click on the link in the chat box and the password is there also. So I'm just going to swap to my browser. Okay, so as you can see, I am searching Academic Search Ultimate there. That's the name of the database I'm searching. If you click on it, you will see if you have access to any other databases on your profile, they will be listed there as well. And this profile has been created only with one database. But when you are using your organization's platform, you may find that there are other databases listed and you are able to search one at a time, or you can search multiple databases at once. So we have our search bar here, but we can also go to an advanced search screen. And I'm going to go ahead and type in my search terms. So I'm looking at social media, and you will notice as I'm typing, suggestions pop up. And you will recognize there are our Boolean operators. There are also some field codes there, but I'm not going to talk much about that today because that's going to be covered in the next session. Anxiety and depression and young people. All right, now I'm going to keep my Boolean operator at and because I want the intersection of these three concepts. I'm not interested in articles about social media in general or anxiety and depression in general or young people in general. I want articles that are to do with these three things. So I'm going to go ahead and search. And as you can see, I have several articles in my results list. Now, my most commonly used filters are here. So let's say I'm only interested in articles where the full text is available that have been peer reviewed and that have been published in the last 5 years. Okay, now these are your most commonly used filters, as I mentioned. You've also got source type there. Because I limited only to peer-reviewed items, I've only got academic journals on my list there. These are your most commonly used filters. If you want to access more filters, you can click on all filters, and this slides out from the right-hand side, and you have many other filters you have access to as well. You'll also notice this item that looks like a padlock. And if you click on it, you have the option of keeping your filters between searches or removing your filters between searches. So if you find that every search you do, you're always selecting full text, peer reviewed past 5 years, you can choose to keep those intact in between searches. Or if you want a clean slate in between searches, you can remove filters. All right, so you can see with my results list here, you'll notice for each one you have the title, and you'll notice anything to do with our search terms is in italics or bold and highlighted. So as I'm scrolling through, you can see the title, you can see the author's names, you can see the journal that it comes from, including the issue details and the database as well. You have the beginnings of an abstract or a description, and you can see more. You'll also notice that each article has been tagged with a number of subjects, and I can click to see all of them. This is a way of applying metadata, and it's similar to using hashtags on social media. It helps to make the articles searchable. Now you'll notice many of these fields are hyperlinked. So if, for example, you'll notice this has been tagged with college students, anxiety, mental depression, young adults, social media, social support, and so on. So if I wanted to run a search for articles tagged with social media, I could just click there and I would run a search for that. If I wanted to run a search for articles by authors named Stephanie, Secord, Frederick, I could just click there and it would do that for me. If you click on the title of an article, it brings up what is referred to as a detailed record. So I have a whole lot of information there. I have the authors, their affiliations, author supplied keywords, there's an abstract, there's my author affiliations, and so on. You'll notice with each of these, it shows you how you can access the full text. Sometimes it's only PDF, sometimes it's online full text. If there's a drop-down menu, it's because both are available. So if I have a look at the PDF for this article, we're all familiar with PDF, I'm sure. It looks just like the page out of the publication, complete with page breaks and page numbers and so on. Now you'll notice these icons here. If ever you're unsure what an icon means, just hover your cursor. I have made my cursor very big so it's easy to see, but unfortunately it does cover some of that text there. But this thing that looks like a bookmark, you can save the item. This is a citation tool that says cite there. If I click on that, there's a drop-down menu of citation formats. When I find the one I want, I click on it and I can simply copy to keyboard. So it makes your referencing really easy. You can also export your citations from here using EndNote or EasyBib or whatever it is that you use. You can also add items to a project, you can share them, you can download them, print them, and so on. Now with EBSCO Host, for both online full text and PDF, you have a listen feature. So this is a text to speech feature. If you click play, the entire article is read to you in a computerized voice. You can select a playback speed, and you can also download as an MP3. There's also accessibility support if you need that. If you access online full text, you will notice it looks similar to PDF, but as I'm scrolling through, you'll notice there are no page breaks and no page numbers. The features are similar to PDF. You'll notice your save, your cite, all of those are the same. However, with online full text, you also have a translate feature. So you can choose a language to translate to. And that text to speech feature is there also. Now you'll also notice from your results list, there's that save, looks like a bookmark. Those three dots, that's actually referred to as a kebab menu is the name for that. If you hover your cursor, you'll see it says tools, and there are those tools we saw when we clicked into the article. So if I want to cite the article or add it to a project, share it, or download it. Now, if you want to save items permanently, you need to ensure you are signed into a My EBSCO account. To create an account, it is very easy and very quick. It literally takes less than 1 minute. All that is required is a first name, an email address, create a password, tick consent, and create your account. And I'll just very quickly sign into my account. And once you are signed into your account, as I mentioned, you can save items permanently. Now, we saw one of the options was to add to a project. So you can see under your dashboard here, you can create projects, and it's a way of organizing your research. So if I click on projects, I can see several projects I've created there. If I click into one of them, that one doesn't have much in it, but let's look at COVID-19 and teens. Okay, that doesn't have much in it either. If you save items, they will be in there as well. You can also look at your recent activity, and that is your search history. So you can see here, I've done 4 searches, and that's because each time I've changed my search in any way, it counts as a new search. So it makes it very easy to follow the evolution of your search. We had the initial search, then I applied the full text limiter, then I applied the peer review limiter. So it makes it very easy to jump back to a previous search. All right, we'll just go back to the landing page. Now, you will also notice there is a publication finder. So we're in the Academic Search Ultimate database. If I want to find publications in that database, there are 2 places I can find them. I can click on Publications Authority there, or I can go to my advanced search screen and click on publications there. So either the publications authority or publications, both of those will take me to the same place. Okay, so I'm searching for publications within this database, which is Academic Search Ultimate. You can search by title. You can also search by subject and description. So let's say I'm interested in publications to do with education, and you can see them listed here. So you can see the title of the publication. Let's look at this one, Therapeutic Patient Education. It's available in this database in both HTML full text and PDF. If I click on the title, it gives me more information about that publication, about the publisher, tells me that there is full text available in this database from 2012 to the present, and I can access those previous issues there. All right, to access help and support, I will send you a link to this in the email that I send you this afternoon. And I'll also just pop a link in the chat box as well. This is EBSCO Connect, and it is our online help and support portal. So if I'm interested in how to do an advanced search, I can type in whatever my search terms are, and you'll find video tutorials, you'll find articles. You can see I've got 365 results there, and I can filter down the left-hand side. So lots of really great information in EBSCO Connect. Okay. And I'll just jump back to our slides. All right, so that's just a screenshot there of EBSCO Connect. And as I mentioned, I will send you a link to EBSCO Connect. I'll also send you a link to EBSCO Academy, where you can find other recordings and instructor-led sessions and so on. Now, as many of you are aware, today's session is part of a competition. And just to review, to enter the competition, you need to watch the live session or the recording until the end. You need to attend at least one competition session in November, and there are 4 sessions held. Today's the first one. Sign up to the training newsletter, and you'll need to complete and submit the quiz within 1 week. So, step one, register for the monthly training newsletter, and I will send you links to these in the email I send you this afternoon. You can click the QR code now if you would like to, but you will have the link in the email I send you today. You need to complete and submit the quiz. And so there's a link there and a QR code. And once you do that, you will be in the draw to win a cash prize. You do have a week to complete that quiz. And so today is the 4th of November, so you will have until midnight, Tuesday, the 11th of November. And the prize details, the grand prize winner receives 150 US dollars or the equivalent in their local currency. And there will be one grand prize winner in Southeast Asia and one grand prize winner in Oceania. There will be a runner up, one each again in Southeast Asia and one in Oceania. And the runner up receives 50 US dollars or the equivalent in their local currency. Winners will be announced on Friday, December 5th. There's also a series survey or an evaluation. And again, I will send you a link to this. If you would like to scan the QR code now, you can, or you can just wait until I send you that in the email I send you this afternoon. And so the name of next week's session is Master Research Like a Pro, Unlock the Power of EBSCO and EBSCO AI. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Well, thank you very much for attending today. I hope you found this session useful. As I mentioned, you will be receiving an email from me a bit later on today with a link to the recording of the session, a copy of the PowerPoint slides, and the other links that I've mentioned, including how to enter the competition and a link to the quiz and so on. Thank you so much for attending, everyone.